Geographically speaking, Kilkeel is just about 4 miles from the water border. So in other words, once 4 miles out of Kilkeel, you're definitely in the Republic of Ireland waters. To be a good fisherman that's successful, you have to have a very aggressive passion for success to drive you through the bad times, weather and adverse conditions. Name's Brian Cunningham. I'm third generation fisherman. I used to employ 28 people. I'm now down to 12. We're not in expansion mode anymore. Up until about 4 years ago we were expanding our business, but due to the difference between economic developments and the Brexit looming, we've decided to scale down our old operations.
Traditionally in this area, it's handed down from one generation to the next, and since they brought the quotas in, you do have to own a certain amount of quota to make the job a little easier, you know, and it just gives you a better start. And having to start in the industry to buy a boat and quota and license at the minute would take a lot of money. It'd probably put a lot of people off.
To survive, you have to work 25 hours a day, 8 days a week now. Whenever I started, every weekend the boats were in port regardless, pretty much. And then after a couple of years, a few people coming up to Christmas, the month of December, oh, it's coming up to the weekend, forget about the weekend, we need money for Christmas, we need money for Christmas. So that started the slippery slope, and once a few boats start the weekend, and then after you get a certain degree of that boats fishing the weekend, then everybody has to fully sit. Basically the boats now are fishing the slack tides, and the fish stocks have suffered as a result. I'm the skipper of the Steadfast. The Steadfast is a 19-metre twin rig trawler. We carry 6 crewmen at the minute on the deck. Those crewmen currently come from Ghana because we cannot get experienced men at home that know what they're doing and want to do the job.
I think the government need to relax in the laws for getting the likes of the Filipinos into fishing these boats. If you want Filipino crew in, you have to stay outside the 12-mile limit, but sometimes it's not always possible to stay at the 12-mile limit because there's fishing inside it. And once you go inside it, then they look at your VMS and then they see you've been inside the 12 mile. So then whenever you go to apply for Filipino crew again, then they look at that and say, well, that boat's been inside the 12 miles, so that then you get turned down for getting your crew back. So you more or less have to stay outside that limit all the time.
Fishing industry used to be the talk of the town. Who had a big week, who got a new car, the money to be made. And I come on the scene and I thought I'll never be poor again, and I got my own boat, and it's just been work harder, and the harder you work, the harder things get, and that's what it's been these last 15 years.
Well, this past 10-15 years has been pretty hard here. We've lost a lot of boats, and a lot of people have left the industry, and in fact if you take a look around the harbour, the harbour's quite empty today, but this harbour used to be full of boats, you know, and that's basically dwindled because of the EU and because of Brussels and the quotas they've set.
Do you realise that who owns the quota in the UK? Who's the majority shareholder? There's football clubs in the Premiership has vast amounts of quota. Top 4 or 5 in the Premiership owns fishing quota. Do you think that's right? To be given dividends at the end of every year on the back of a fisherman slugging his guts out in the North Sea, Irish Sea. That's an absolute disgrace. The new generation fisherman's suffering. And if we're wondering where all the young fellas are, why they're working in the factories, it's because they can't afford to get into the industry anymore. The boys who have only been introduced into the industry, who has not family with quota, then have to leave at least it, or purchase it at colossal amounts of money. So they are saying, I know I've heard their argument saying, well, the government should hold on to the quota and filter it down to the guys who have none.
To support the fishing industry at the minute, basically we have to pretty much turn the clock back 40, 50 years to go back to doing things the way they used to be done. Fishing boats here for centuries used to go out and catch what was in the local area at the time, and that was a seasonal fishery. Part of the year they fish prawns, then caught the herring in herring season, go for the cod in the cod season, the boats rotated. Nothing was ever abused or suppressed. And basically the boats were targeting the single biggest species at any given time, whereas the way things are under the Common Fisheries Policy, there are prawn boats, there are herring boats, there are whitefish boats, and they have to stay at the one thing year in, year out.
If we leave Europe, why would we not get our own quota back? I would expect to receive more quota, or the POs to receive more quota to give it out to the boats. This boat here can catch its whitefish entitlement in the Irish Sea. Well, we've done that in 8 days, and that's our month's quota. So what do I do the next 20, 21, 22 days? There's not enough whitefish quota or fish quota in this country to do the handful of boats that's left at this job.
It's like a cod, cod will be one of the biggest issues, and you have to dump live cod out over the rail, which is very disheartening for crew members whenever you're throwing money out over the rail. I don't know another industry in the world where that would happen. So leaving the EU, if Britain does what they're supposed to do, that will definitely benefit us fishermen.
I voted to leave. The reason I voted to leave was Europe pretty much is wiped out, or almost wiped out, the Northern Ireland fleet compared to what it used to be. When I started, there was about 120 sort of over 15 metre boats in this harbour, and apparently now we're down to probably the 40s between Kilkeel, Ardglass and Portavogie. It's a cutthroat business to try and survive.
Well, I do believe that most of the people I've spoke to voted to leave, but I wasn't one of them. Everybody's talking to me about, oh, you're wrong, if Brexit's a good thing, we're going to get 35–40% more quota. But with the new fishing restrictions on where we're allowed to go and where we're not allowed to go, so it's going to be 12 mile of an area we used to fish and we're not be allowed in. So there's going to be 30 or 40 perhaps % more quota in an area, but it's going to be a smaller area. So not only are we not going to get into the fishing areas that we used to go, we're going to have more quota in a smaller area. So to me, I call that a displacement of fishing efforts. And we've endured harsh quota restrictions and measures to safeguard species, cod, and not without reason, since 1996. So 22 years later, we can see healthy stocks. Now, what's going to happen whenever we're not allowed to fish in the whole fishing area? But we're now going to be restricted to an area which is less, but there's going to be a bigger fleet of boats fishing that. Surely that's going to end not having no EU to enforce that, them measures, conservation measures. Because there's that much uncertainty. What rules are they going to come up with? Because they've always been guided since in my lifetime as a fisherman by the EU.
The next 5 years is better looking than the previous 5 years, if you had asked me that 5 years ago. That's basically down to the opportunity of Brexit, and at the minute fish stocks and prawn stocks in this past few years have been good. One boat now can kill the same amount of fish 2 boats could 10–15 years ago. So we need that quota to come back from Europe back into this country, and Scotland will say the same. Everybody does. We need it back.
The fishing industry will survive catch, but the sales and the markets, that's what should be looking. People shouldn't be looking at fishing 100 hours a week and coming home and think they're going to just be the same. It's not. The market structure is going to change because of tariffs, and maybe you'll say, well, sure, I don't need your stuff anymore. I can get it of a Frenchman, a Spaniard. They'll do deals within themselves. The Irish Republic will probably get more markets, I don't know. I'm not overly confident.